Hello friends, my name is Faye and you're watching Mystery Date with a Book. Okay, today we're going to be talking about books set all around the world. I'm not counting the United States and the UK because most of my books, most popular books I'd say nowadays, are set in either the United States or the UK. So we're going to skip those two. We're going to focus on more international books. Hold on. So that's what we're doing. I'm going to just quickly go over a few books that we have here that are set in different countries, which is something we don't really see very much nowadays. I got this idea from Serena at A Wandering Mind. I'm going to leave her channel linked down below. Go check her out. She did a video very similar to this, like exactly the same as this, basically. I stole her idea, but don't worry, I asked beforehand and she said it was okay, and yes, I'm stealing her idea, yeah. Without further ado, the first book we have here, it's a shiny one, look at that. It is The Orange Girl by Jo Steingarder. I've read this book, it's really good, but as you know, I'm terrible with names, but yeah. The Orange Girl, it is, there you go, you can see it now. It's a book set in Norway. The author is from Norway. He wrote this book in Norwegian. Did I get it right? I hope so. And then it was translated into English and I read this. It was a recommendation by a friend and it was really good. Really, really good. It's this father telling his son basically how he met the orange girl. And it's really interesting. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. It's not very popular. Nobody really talks about the Orange Girl, but it's a really good book, so go read it if you want a bit more diversity in on your bookshelves. Go for it. Yeah. The Orange Girl. Highly recommend it. Next book. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. I can never say her name properly, but we'll just go with it. Children of Blood and Bone. This is that debut novel. It's not translated or anything, it was written in English, but it's heavily influenced by African culture. It's a fictional world, but you can see that there's a lot of African influence in this book, so I'm adding this to the list as well because I had never read an African influenced book before, like an African culture and bits of their language and their beliefs. It was so different. I loved this book. It was so good. So yes, Africa, Children of Blood and Bone. I highly recommend it. Okay, the next book we have here is a graphic novel, Persepolis by Marianne Satrapi. I think that's how you say her name. Guys, I really need to work on saying people's names. I'm really bad at pronouncing people's names. I'm sorry. But Persepolis. This is a graphic novel. It's based on her own life, on the author's life. It's an Own's Voice book then, you know. Persepolis, it's a story about her childhood, about the author's childhood. She was born and raised in Iran. And then when she grew up, she went to Austria for a little bit. And we follow her life journey in this brilliant comic book. It's not a comic book, it's a graphic novel. I like graphic novel better because comic book reminds me of Superman and this has nothing to do with Superman. So, a graphic novel. This is brilliant as well. Set in Iran, Austria. You get to see bits of other cultures as well. It's brilliant actually. So yes, lots of diversity. Set in Iran. I've never read a book set in Iran, so yes, read it. Now, the next book is a really good one. It's one of my favorites. It is Warcross by Marie Lu. So good. Oh my goodness. This is a 5 out of 5 stars book. It's set mainly in Japan, and I've just always been very fascinated by the Japanese culture and their language and their food. Their food, yes. So, I love this book. It was set at the start of the book. You're in the United States, but then quickly you move on to Japan. So it's mainly set in Japan, and I love this book so much. It's so good, so good, so good. Yes. Now, I've read the sequel, Wildcard. I have it right here. Wildcard, not as good. Not nearly as good as the first one, Warcross. So, you know, I would recommend Warcross. I'm not going to recommend Wildcard because, you know, I didn't enjoy it. The last book we have on my list is Anne of Green Gables. Of course, this had to be here. This is set in Canada. It's about this little girl who gets adopted by this farmer couple, and she is just such a brilliant, brilliant character. I'm sure a lot of you grew up reading Anne of Green Gables. There's a whole series behind it. I didn't really like the other books in the series, but this first one is just amazing. It's by L.M. Montgomery, and it's set in Canada. What else should I say? Like, it's a brilliant classic. Now, I'm not a big fan of classics. I think most classics are overrated, but some deserve the fame that they get. This is one of them. This is really good. Anne of Green Gables, and I especially love this edition because it's so beautiful. Look at that. So, let me show you the pile of books we have here. Okay, here we go. We have Japan, Africa, Norway, Iran, and Austria, and Canada. I'd say that's a pretty diverse pile. And yes, none of these are mainly set in the United States or the UK. I feel like most books are set in those two places. Technically, Harry Potter is mainly set in Scotland, but Scotland is still part of the UK, so it doesn't really count. And I was going to mention as well, but I didn't pick them up because they were too hard to get from my bookshelf. The Lunar Chronicles. The first book, Cinder, is set in, I want to say Japan as well. China or Japan? I think it's Japan. The second book, Scarlet. Scarlet is set in France, if I'm not mistaken. Then we have Cress, which is set in outer space, and Winter, which is away on the moon as well. So yes, Japan and France as well in the Lunar Chronicles if you want a bit of diversity in your reading. So yes, this is it guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, you know what to do. You click that like and you subscribe, you click the bell, you leave a comment. Please leave a comment, let me talk to you. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.